We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a very special announcement. Square Enix have launched a new story and gameplay trailer for FF7 Rebirth, 3 minutes 28 seconds to be precise, so it's time to drop absolutely everything, disregard any and all previous commitments, and do a massive deep dive on this trailer right now. Roll the intro and let's mosey.
All right, welcome to the Gift of Gaming podcast. It is me, your host, Darren Wade, joined today by Craig, the Critical Nolan. Craig,
how are you Darren? Very, very excited.
Good, I'm glad. And a special announcement, mentioned many times on the podcast, but never made an appearance until today. Kevin Brennan. Kev, how the hell are you? A pleasure and an honour to have you here today.
Thanks, man. It's nice to be here. Yeah, long-time listener, first-time contributor. I've heard my name multiple times on the podcast, and now I have to try and not...
Does that excite you when you hear that?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, except when you're talking shit about me playing Civ, but that's fun.
That's just me, though.
I'm slow. It's me. Andy as well, man. I am slow at playing Civ, so...
So as per our announcement for the beginning of this episode, it's a big deal. This was meant to be a VR episode with Luke and my brother Andrew, and fuck were we doing that after Final Fantasy trailer got announced, like, you know. So for our listeners out there, it's a good time to be getting into your gaming content because the Summer Gamesfest is on right now, which includes showcases from Xbox, Ubisoft. I mean, PlayStation did one too. We got, our Final Fantasy trailer announced as well. There's a Day of the Devs where they're talking about games. So, like, keep an eye out on Summer Gamesfest stuff. There's a lot out there. I just watched the Xbox showcase, and that was unbelievably good, actually. And I hurts me to say that a little bit.
Luke's gonna eat that up.
He already has been. I already messaged him, and he's been making it. He's been knocking it back.
I'm gonna go on a media blackout then until it boils over.
Yeah, but in fairness, I was like, I watched the PlayStation showcase, which I thought was okay, and the word out there was that it was bad. I was like, oh well, I got like more Final Fantasy 16 content and a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake.
That's amazing.
Like, as good announcements, and then I was like, I thought it was good, and then I saw what Xbox did, and I was like, God, that PlayStation showcase was fucking awful. Like, in comparison, it was terrible. So this is we're going to go deep dive today into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I'm joined, thankfully, I'm glad you guys were able to make it on such short notice, by what I would consider this the trifecta, the Final Fantasy VII dream team. To get into this, we had a conversation recently when the trailer first got announced. We were in your parents' gaff, Craig, with Colum, and we were actually like full blown argument about our conspiracy theories about what it was
to the point, like, anytime I wanted to talk to you guys, I would stand up and then address you, like, facing both of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
As though we were taking the stage to talk.
And Colin went out to collect something or whatever, and he came back like 5 minutes later, and he just walks in on like a full blown argument about about our theories for Rebirth. So it's going to be so good.
So I thought today, actually, what I'll do is I'll get the housekeeping out of the way first and foremost. Next week's episode will be the first episode of the Gift of Gaming podcast where you won't have me as the host.
Oh my God. Who's hosting?
I believe it's Luke, on a episode that we're talking about game dreams. So it's kind of, if there is a game that you ever thought of that you'd love to see come to fruition, what is it? And I think, Craig, you've kindly volunteered to hop on that episode. I think it's yourself.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wait, so is Luke hosting and you're...
Oh, no, I'm not even taking part.
You're just not even here?
No, I'm on day off, man.
Unreal.
I mean, I'll be here because none of this would work without me.
I was gonna be like, does Luke know how to work all the technology behind the scenes?
I mean, it'd be handy if I taught somebody in case I died or something. But so I think that's next week, and then I think we're talking about possibly, well, it'll be like news shortly after that for July. But the most important thing is we're going to talk about this trailer. We're going to get into the trailer. We're going to talk about it scene by scene. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, pause the goddamn podcast, watch the trailer, and then hit play again, because we're going to go into it something fierce. So I've broken down the scenes, beat for beat, what happens in the trailer. We're going to talk about those scenes in particular, how excited we are for that, or not excited, or worried about what directions it might be taking. And then Craig's going to break it down to us. For all you casual Final Fantasy VII fans, Craig's going to break it down as to the world of Final Fantasy VII as it sits, what we know, what might be possibilities, and then, of course, at the end of all this, we're going to put the tinfoil hats on, fellas, and talk about where we think this game is going.
A general overview, just to let people know what we think and where our head's at in relation to everything. Yeah,
and like I would like to do, a little bit of chitter chat about what games you've been playing recently, guys. How are you doing? But we don't have time for that, fellas.
Nice.
This is going to take way too long. I have no time for a little idle chit chat. So let's get into it. I have here broken down all the little bits of the trailer. So trailer first comes on and we get kind of like an emergency news bulletin of Midgar exploding, and we see the party Tifa, Barrett, Aerith, Red, no Cloud. I dropped my pen. Hang on. No Cloud to be seen, but all these guys are being taken into ambulances or helicopters, whatever else, appearing to us as dead. What do you guys make of that?
Well, Tifa's like arm movement flopping over would suggest that she's dead. Like that is the only, like, you could argue that everyone looks like they're unconscious, but as soon as it shows her arm slump over like that, I've seen enough movies to know that means the person's dead. Like, you know, and that's where like they tuck the arm back in. You know, you weren't supposed to see that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's implying that all four of those characters are dead.
And Kev, was this a surprising opening for this?
I think it was like as the trailer started and opened up, I didn't know what to think. And then, I mean, I don't know how much we're going to get into stuff as we break down the trailer or whether it's going to be later on. But instantly, my head went to different timeline. Like, there's so much going on in the remake with Sephiroth and everything else. We're traveling through all these different timelines, and we know that Zack's alive at the last of the end game. So I moved straight to that. But at the start, it's weird. And it's weird seeing all the main characters dead. Except for Aerith. She dies anyway, but...
Spoiler! We don't care for spoilers on the show. So from my perspective, I initially, I saw that and it was quite a shocker. I was like, oh, the party's dead. I'm seeing all the party die. And I was like, wow. And then I thought on it for a second. I was like, I don't know if I like this, As we'll go down to the rest of the bits in the trailer. This is the only part of the trailer that I questioned. Because whatever they do, whatever way you look at it, as far as I'm concerned, if it is a timeline thing, which we'll get into, it's the laziest fucking writing ever.
To just immediately not worry about those characters, just have them dead.
We don't want to
them.
include these guys in the other timelines, so accident happens, somehow they're all in the same place, they all die, and we don't talk about that anymore. And my problem with that is, as a Kingdom Hearts fan, knowing what Tetsuya Nomura is capable of, it has me worried. Should I mean as
it
good?
Should.
Yeah. Because that's where I'm like, okay. Because some of the stuff in Kingdom Hearts is really good. Some of the stuff is the laziest fucking writing ever. And I'm like, oh my, is this leaking into Final Fantasy? So that's what happens at the first part. Then we get introduced to kind of like the party opening the doors, coming out of what I assume is one of the tunnels, the exits they took out of Midgar, whatever it might be, like an underground path, and they come out to the open world. And as we see it now, it's in CGI in that first little section, but like pretty breathtaking. I mean, in terms of gaming graphics, it's the most beautiful Final Fantasy I've ever witnessed. And it looks amazing. And then we're kind of introduced slowly into a kind of in-game footage of them kind of running through the open world, and Red 13 and Aerith talking about how everything looks okay, like the planet looks like green and healthy, but Red knows that there's something wrong here and it's not okay. Open world, I was blown away by, but Craig, I think you've got some doubts about it. You don't think everything as shown is what we're going to get?
Everything is shown is what we're going to get?
Like in terms of, like, I mean, just before we sat down, you were kind of saying that some of those things that they showed in that CGI trailer would just be backdrops.
Well, yeah, even in that scene you're talking about where you could see this big massive backdrop in the distance, I thought immediately, like, that looks too good to be able to physically go there. Like, it reminded me a lot of, and you love this section of the game. Do you remember when you got to the top of the pillar and you could see all of Midgar in the background?
Yes.
Like, it looks to me kind of like that, like a really nice picture, but somewhere where you can't actually go. Like, you'll only go so far before you're kind of segued somewhere else.
It seems, sorry, Craig, like, it reminded me a bit of like 13 or 15 or whatever else. Like, maybe big open areas and like open world in inverted commas, but like not necessarily what we'd expect from older 7 games and stuff. But anything is amazing.
Yeah.
Like we were all fully expecting that it would just be a linear game with story, kind of like Remake was, the original game, which was brilliant. But that there's no way they're going to be able to do open world. It'll take up too much memory and processing power and everything. But now it's on two discs.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll happen.
And that's what I mean. Like that announcement at the end, and we'll get to that. But that announcement to say, on 2 discs is a what if for me. Is like, what if they actually built the entire open world? Craig, you've raised your hand. Oh, sorry. So just for our listeners, right? We know, like we've had previous sets about Final Fantasy 7 before in the past, and we cannot stop talking about it. So I've put in a rule today. You guys can't see it because you're audio listeners, but you have to raise your hand if you want to speak. Craig,
without that rule, I'd have interrupted like 10 times already. Like, so thank you for doing that. Like, but I was just gonna say, sorry, you mentioned like the party members leaving camp for the first time, that being the opening shot. I just wanted to point out before we moved from that. You said they opened up the doors and you saw the open world.
Yes.
Right? Whereas And when the camera moves around to the side, you actually can see a screenshot of Cam right in the background. So those are the doors to exit the town. So I'm guessing that the game will open with your which you're telling the flashback story.
Yes.
You won't have seen anywhere on the map yet.
Well,
and then going through those doors is the reveal of the map. You know, so it's
Yeah.
the character's first moment of being outside. Where that wasn't a backstory.
How did they get to Cam?
Well, in the trailer. So I don't know if you remember the DLC trailer. At the end of the game, you had the party on the Chocobo Bill's car, and he
Amazing.
was with Barrett singing.
What a cameo!
Yeah, it was so good. And they dropped them off, and it started raining, and they were walking, and you could see Calm in the distance. So they've that little section where you run from Midgar to Calm on the world map in the original game. They've just cut it out and put that into
they've handled that with
trailer form.
cutscenes so that because you know that they want the opening to be Sephiroth and Cloud in the truck and then fighting the dragon.
Yeah.
That has to, they want to start with a bang. And
Yeah.
that's how you start with a bang. So it just goes straight into the flashback, and then the characters, after telling the story, will leave Calm. And then those double doors open, and it's like, oh,
The open world.
they're
Open
getting that moment.
world, yeah, real open world.
Yeah, because that'll be the thing, is that I don't think we'll be able to go back to Midgar at all. I think that's
Midgar. I would expect, just like in the original game, is completely locked out,
until
you from going anywhere near Zack. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, fantastic story writing. Okay, so after that we have then the Chocobo. We get a first view of Chocobo Farm and a little look at them on Chocobos riding through what appears to be sections of the open world. And my heart soared when I saw Cloud walk into Chocobo Farm. I saw a great video where some guy does a comparison. He literally has scenes from Final Fantasy VII against scenes from that trailer in the places. And Chocobo Farm, because this one it seems to be a bit more of a forested area as opposed to right out in the open fields like it was in the original game. But there's something that's just so, and we got the trailer only had its trailer music, but I can't imagine, it's gonna be so good when you walk into there and you get that that Chocobo Farm theme, it's gonna be so good. Chocobos in the game, obviously rideable, obviously mounts for us to go around. Great addition. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on it, or will I keep going?
No, well, just on that, if you pause the trailer really, really closely, you can see that the Chocobos have different commands. They're able to go and search. So I assume that's treasure or something like that.
Yeah.
Similar to Final Fantasy VIII, I think, or 9, if you got the special app or whatever they had.
Was it
back in the day.
9 where you went into the Chocobo Forest and
Yes.
Amuba was there and you ran around and you dig and it'd tell you if you're getting hotter or colder
Yeah.
or whatever?
So I
maybe
assume
it's a similar situation.
something like that, but in the open world. You also have the option, because just immediately after that scene, there's Cloud with Barrett and Red 13, and they're just walking through the forest as normal, but on the grid it says or1 Chocobo. So I think you can summon the Chocobo to you even while you're on feet, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, what better reason for giving you a mount than it's a giant open world game and you need to get around fast.
What if it's the whole open world? I mean, I would go mad.
I still want to fight a big massive snake,
But all those bits, that scene where you have to get a Chocobo to run across the swamp because of the horrible snake. Imagine, I don't know if those kind of little beats would be in the game, because does Sephiroth need to follow those paths anymore? We'll get to that at the end as to why he may or may not. But I mean, imagine that though, because even in Final Fantasy VII, when you first cross it and it goes to that cutscene and the snake is skewered on this tree or pike or whatever it is, and even that for a 1997 game looked amazing, because it was in the backdrop graphics as opposed to the character graphics.
And this snake, that if you tried to go across there on foot, it whooped you so fast.
Yeah.
And then no problem for Sephiroth whatsoever. It was brilliant.
Just creates that illusion of God, this guy is insanely powerful or whatever, which I think we'll miss in this game, because we've already been introduced to Sephiroth way too much for my liking. But
plus, when we did, he was already the final boss of Disc 1, so it's kind of hard to really see him as a god when we already beat him.
Yeah,
so and even when Cloud is fighting Sephiroth, it's hard to even tell who's winning, because it's just all so flashy. The only way I can tell is because Sephiroth seems to be kind of lazily throwing his sword up in the air. I'm like, oh, that means he's winning, I guess, Otherwise, you'd have no idea who's getting the better of who.
Yeah. Which is a disappointing thing. But I mean, how do you end the first game? I don't know. But I'm going to miss those aspects maybe in what they've done with Sephiroth. But again, we'll get to those points at the end. Then after that bit on the Chocobo riding, we have another CG cutscene of Cosmo Canyon and
amazing.
Bugenhagen. Yeah.
Bugenhagen?
Bugenhagen.
Is it Bugenhagen or Bugenhagen?
I think whenever it comes to these translation things, you can say whatever you want. You know?
Yeah.
Bugenhagen it is. It's got a nicer ring to it, I think.
I think so too.
But him discussing, I guess, and this is the thing as well, because he in the original game, he discusses, the live stream and kind of fills you in on kind of what's going wrong. And I wonder, does this Bugenhagen know that there's something else going on, in this cutscene?
Because Red does, right?
No.
Isn't there? No, Red doesn't. Is there not a scene where him and Aerith are together and this? Am I just making that up?
In the news trailer?
Remake. I thought in Remake.
Well, they share new dialogue, but every character does, so it's hard to tell what's old and what's new.
Fair
because
enough.
you'd never know if they actually said that because the first game just didn't show it.
Yeah.
You know?
So, do you think we'll get timeline talk in this chat with you? Do you think he knows that much? Do you think
I think you should save that for later.
Okay, all right. I'll leave it a little tick for the box. But just to talk about the scene.
But for Bugenhagen, you mean?
Yeah, do we think that, because the Bugenhagen he's kind of like your first guide in the original Final Fantasy VII game. Do you think he'll be able to guide us any further as to what we might think is going on in this version of Final Fantasy VII?
I think he's the only person we have to tell us anything that anyone else in the world doesn't know. You know what I mean? So I think he will have something to tell, even if he only kind of says it as a kind of like possibility of, oh, hey, it's theorized that you could do this, but I don't think he's going to know what's happening because he's still unaffected by the time jump, I think.
And he might have some insight, though, because you got to assume that Red and Cloud and everyone, when they go there, will tell him what's been going on. Do you know? Like, there's the scene of them all in Cam together and they're talking about Sephiroth and what's he been doing and blah, blah, blah. Like, it will come up with Bugenhagen. And maybe he'll have more of an insight than your average Joe on
what's going on.
I think that's a great point, that like we'll have new information to tell him, and then he might be able to give us something different back. And that in itself will change the story a little, because we're already telling a character new information that he didn't know. So Bugenhagen's route now could be slightly altered, Oh
my God, maybe it's Bugenhagen that dies. Maybe that's just separate.
No.
Not Bugenhagen. So, but just in terms of graphically, that scene looks amazing. I can't wait to see Cosmo Canyon. I can't wait to hear the Cosmo
song.
Canyon.
They were
too.
smart to only show us the planetarium.
Yes.
Just keep
the rest of it,
Yeah.
because that, and the only version of Cosmo Canyon we've gotten to date in this new reimagining of Final Fantasy was the one, the kind of jazz version you get on the jukeboxes in Final Fantasy VII Remake. When
Yes, the jukebox were great.
and that one I know for a fact is like, that one's not going to be what we're going to get, like, because that's like a jazzy version. So like
the Smash Brothers rendition is excellent.
It's so good, and I'm kind of like, could that be the one? No, it won't be like they make their own version.
It won't,
for
but it's
Smash.
good enough.
Yeah, it's great. So then after that, we go to it looks like the party's running down through the cave of, I mean, it's speculation, but some people say it could be the cave of like Red 13's species.
Cave of the Gee.
Cave of the Gee, yes. Yeah.
I also don't like saying it, Darren. Yeah.
I worry. Do I get it right? Do I get it wrong? I had a funny run-in a Tesco shop once where I asked for, ghee, which was like, it's a clarified butter or whatever else. The woman in Tesco laughed at me and thought I was being offensive. So I worry when I say that word. I'm sorry. So after that, we get the guys talking about, it's the scene where they're in the inn in Com, and the party's finally stopped moving, and they're like, yo, Cloud, give us some answers. What's going on here? And we'll get into it.
The opening of the game, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what we'll do is, we saw the initial trailer, Cloud and Sephiroth walking together in what looks to be the path up to the Mako reactors near Nibelheim. And my assumption here is that we'll probably get a bit of play through a scene, then back to the party at the inn to describe what they think, then go back to the flashback and stuff like that. I think that's probably how that'll go. But just to see, because I only played through the first disc of Final Fantasy VII, I would say, in the last 5-6 months. And I love that scene where they're up in the inn, and that image of the inn and those original Final Fantasy VII graphics is drilled into my brain. I can even picture where everybody's situated and what Cloud's talking about, and seeing that come to life in the remake as well. It's that thing where I'm excited, like the Golden Saucer. I was excited about Sector 7 and Market, the Market Sector, and how well those things were recreated. I'm just looking at this inn, and it's cozy and it's nice, and the party's getting to know each other, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I can't wait for this shit.
Because they've said they're going to hit lots of the same plot points, not plot points, but lots of the same locations in the game. So I don't know if they've specifically said the Golden Saucer, but all the main ones, Cam, Cosmo Canyon, etc. So I think the golden saucer, you could lose so much time. And like do you remember the golden saucer out of Realm Reborn?
Oh my god,
amazing! You go and you can play triple triad, like all the card games from the different Final Fantasies and everything else, and like they could do a lot with golden saucer. So
I hope they do.
Yeah,
me too.
And just put in all those games again. Like give me the submarine game, give me the underwater game, give me the snowboarding, which was amazing.
Give me Final Fantasy 7. Just on a little machine in the
That's
golden
such a
saucer.
good
You
idea.
can play the original game. Just port it straight over.
But then they'd lose the €20. That's
yeah.
what they'll get from everyone
good
who
for
beats
business.
the game.
Could you imagine that as well? Like Cloud playing himself and like, wait a second, what's going on here? This seems to be from an alternate timeline.
Well, they never question the fact that it's him on the bike or on the snowboard or in the submarine before. Like,
yeah, that would be amazing. And I do, Com's an obvious one because it's a massive, narrative drop, narrative dump in terms of like, let's get all this information out there. So of course, we're going to keep Calm in it. We've seen it in the cutscenes, but it looks great. Kev, were you gonna?
I was just gonna say you boot up Final Fantasy 7 and the Golden Saucer, and it's like, please insert disc 2, and that's all that's on the second disc. Just it's just the original game, like.
And then when you leave, it transitions back to disc 1. Yeah.
Okay, so after the Calm in scene, we get the clones or the guys walking towards the reunion and the black cloaks. A very brief little look, and then it quickly moves down. That's not where we get Cloud, but that comes later. But it's a quick look of all them marching, and then we get the Red and Barrett in what looks to be the Mithril Cave fighting, and one of the greatest new Final Fantasy VII tunes kicks in. I can't believe this song came in. So it's called Valkyrie. It's from Final Fantasy VII Remake, the first one, where you're climbing the wall, which is a whole new section. You play that in the original Final Fantasy VII. That climbing the wall bit, it takes about 10 minutes.
You just put a battery in your propeller and then
it's
you
a
hold
pain.
up.
It was very difficult when I was 7 years old.
And I played it recently, and it's still quite difficult to find out where you have to walk and swing, and because
that's one of those cases where you have to hit select to see where the screen transitions are. Otherwise, you'd have no idea
where to leave. So this music was for when you're trying to get up to the wall, and the Shinra machines are coming in to stop you. And it's for me, like Genova. Like if we're talking about Final Fantasy VII music, the Genova theme is one of my all-time absolute favorites. If I had to like revise my list, this Valkyrie song is by far the greatest piece of music from the new games, and it's probably up there in easily the top 5 of my all-time Final Fantasy VII tunes. And I can't believe that it was in this trailer, and it's in this trailer. So because the start of it's such a great build, it's such a good song, and it's you now have like, and we'll get into it now. Barrett and Red fighting the end boss for the Mithril Caves is what I'm assuming in this scene. Fuck man, it looks good.
But just before it's Barrett, and I know it's only like about 10 frames long, but it's interesting that they would include that scene with a bunch of the guys in the cloaks going to the reunion scene, right? Yeah. So they're throwing that in on purpose. It should be mentioned just before we get into like a discussion that like nothing is an accident in the trailer. Like they're deliberately showing you that as though to tee up for when inevitably you see Cloud in the hood, like. Yeah. And there's all sorts of similarities because in the first game you see Marco in that hood, you see Cloud get a vision, pretty much of that exact scene, moment by moment. So just keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, it's an important piece. My question to you guys is, in the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, we got Red 13 as like kind of an assist character who came in. And my thing was like, well, is he going to be a playable character? This trailer has confirmed he's a playable character. Now, we get to see a little bit of his move set later on in the trailer. But, I mean, Kev, Red 13, your favorite Final Fantasy VII character. Yeah. Are you excited by how he plays? I think he was always going to be a tough one to design, but what are your thoughts on him as a playable character?
I think it's really hard to tell. It's hard to tell from the trailer because you've just got attack and whatever his triangle ability is called. I think you mentioned the other day, Craig, a lot of spinning for me.
Yeah.
But then when you think about it, his attack in the original game is
a somersault.
He spins he does a somersault. So I get where it's going to come from. They've all played fantastic so far. Like I don't think I've been disappointed with any of the characters.
I think Aerith was a little bit. I mean, she was still fun, but she was a little bit dull.
She's very much the healer class. It's kind of difficult.
Hard to do much with her.
Like with all the other characters, you can kind of go, "Oh, I can focus on attack, defense, or magic." With Aerith, it's pretty much always magic, like because her just stat is just way too good. Like
and her basic attack is extremely underwhelming, which she's like,
it's just zapping people with her stats.
It does magic damage too, as opposed to regular damage.
And so, like I think, like that. I think Red 13. you know, I picture the game. I was like, you know, oh my god, Cloud plays amazingly, and then you play as Barrett, and I was like, Barrett's a hell of a lot of fun. And you play as Tifa, and like, oh my god, it's like 3 for 3. Amazing. Yeah, like 3 for 3 enjoyable characters. So I have faith that even though it looks a little bit, I'd say he'll probably be a lot of fun. He'd be quite arcadey, I think.
I honestly think it looks terrible. Like the retro team, like it looks like they've just kind of mimicked what they had in the previous game when he was just a team up kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I think based on his movements, I would prefer him to just be a side character that dual teched or something like that. Because I can't. Do you know when you like run up to a bad guy and just hit attack and Cloud swipes with his sword? What is Red 13 going to do? Just spin his head around like
a little. The only thing is, you got to consider the amount of abilities and stuff he's going to learn through the game and how cool they're going to look.
That's true, but like, you do use basic attack half the time as your moveset.
Yeah,
and true. I can just see him spinning his head around with a little knife in his head, and I'm just like, I know I'm going to bench you as soon as I can. You know
what is his weapon? Is it a comb?
It's a knife in his mouth.
Ah,
yeah, but they called it like it was a they
called it a comb and like Seraph's comb and stuff in the original
exactly.
game.
Yeah, but he just holds it in his mouth as well. But he'll be interesting. Like, you know, this is what I mean. I it doesn't look fantastic, but 3 out of 4 for the characters in the first game. And don't get me wrong, Aerith wasn't a bad character to play as. She was just the worst of the 4 of them. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be arcadey, and I think it might be a bit refreshing to like pop him into the team sometimes if he does play a little bit kind of like just a bit of a funky kind of character. You like, you know?
It's also so difficult to tell from like 3 seconds of trailer footage plus a team up attack, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But all his limits and stuff from the original game, Stardust, everything, like all that could be put in as abilities, and I think that will add to him as a character. I have faith. I'm always optimistic about these things. It's Final Fantasy 7, and like Remake was so good that I just have to trust.
And it's
him,
true. There's probably mechanics he has that we haven't seen. Like, because Yuffie, I thought throw is just such a crap ability. Why would I want to throw away all my hard-earned items? But with Yuffie, they made it pretty good. Like, like it has like different elementals to it and stuff like that. So they did a great job showing her new abilities,
like evolving her into the modern day Final Fantasy in a very enjoyable way.
And I'm wondering if he will have kind of like almost enemy skills like beast attacks similar to Kamari maybe or something.
Yeah, great character.
Because he's the only character in the game that can do a scan by himself. Like he can tell what the enemy's HP is and all that type of stuff. So I'd like to see how he pulls that off.
Yeah.
But I'd like him to behave in a kind of aggressive wolf type manner. Like I'd like him to pin people down or like be biting a bad guy but hanging out of them, that type of thing. Like he's like lodged in, like his jaws are locked and he's just doing damage over time.
Like it's one of my favorite scenes in Advent Children, the Final Fantasy 7 film, is where all the team come along to help Cloud beat Bahamut Zero or whatever that Bahamut was called, and like that, exactly what Red 13 does. Everyone's like chopping him with like shooting him with guns, slicing him with knives, and just Red 13 just jumps on him and like bites him and latches onto him for a while. That's all they can do in that scenario.
They had no idea what to do with that.
But I'd love that in this run, like that. Like if you had him on your team and he was like around the battlefield, that they had animations for him where he was just like pinning guys down to the ground, that you could come over and just like whoop with whatever character you're playing as well. Like,
especially because it would lend itself so well to the remake rebirth like new Final Fantasy play style where you like are swapping between characters and it's slowing down, and you like could use him to pin someone down, then swap to Cloud and like triple slash in and use all your other abilities. Like I think he's going to be great. I have to have faith.
Yes, Greg.
Could I just correct myself by saying that I thought Red 13 had a knife in his mouth? That's actually Rapide from Tales of Vesperia, so I completely mixed up those two characters there. You were right, Red 13 has like a pin or something.
Yeah, because he gets one off his dad in like the Cave of the Gi or whatever, and I always thought it was to do with his like, I don't know, mane, for lack of a better term, hence him somersaulting and like
slashing it with
hitting him with his
that
hairpiece,
never occurred
I guess.
I probably should use his claws.
Probably.
I prefer the knife idea.
Yeah.
I'll attack them with my headpiece. It doesn't sound as good. Okay, so after we get that scene, we get... Oh, and just like in terms of, that boss looks pretty dope. I'm assuming that's like an end boss for Mythril Cave. Interestingly, that the team is Barrett and Red 13. So what's happened there? I'm quite curious about it.
Well, I would obviously think that because you see only Cloud, Aerith and Tifa fight the Turks. So I assume that they went to the Mithril Caves and they've done the party split up thing.
Yeah.
So Barrett and Red 13 have gone one way and Cloud, Aerith and Tifa have gone the other way. And it's Cloud's group that encounters Rufus and Elena.
Yeah.
And then Red 13 and Barrett fight the other boss. So,
and I have to say, I am a massive fan of the Barrett Red 13 team up.
Yeah, they're really pushing those two as a duo, and I think it's great.
Yeah. And like their little back and forth, because they actually got on for the little pieces that they had together at the end of Final Fantasy VII. They did have a couple of little back and forth. I was like, okay, this could be a fun little relationship that's blossoming. So then we have, speaking of which, Elena and the Turks. And this is where the song hits its crescendo. It's I say chef's kiss. I shouldn't say French kiss because
you should own it. I would say it forever. Okay. I'm going to.
So this part of the trailer is French kiss as far as I'm concerned, because the timing of the music, the introduction of Elena and Rude there, and just that line as well. I know it's kind of said somewhat similarly in the original Final Fantasy VII, and the part where Rude's like, she may be new, but she's still a Turk, and I'm like, oh man. So like, even if you're brand new to the team, but the fact that you've made it to the team means you're fucking unbelievable, like, Yeah. And in that little bit, you see like Cloud even having a little bit tit for tat, like struggling to fight her and stuff.
And then there's the moment where like Cloud and Tifa go back to back, but then just jump to the side, and Eric fires this magic blast at them. I was like,
and that's right when Valkyrie kicks in.
Oh man, like I was probably drooling while I was watching this scene, because it's everything that I loved about the original game, the music, the fighting, and what I really liked about the wall section of Final Fantasy VII and the remake, the first part, was called the anime cutscenes. The fact that not only are you playing through the game and going to the fights, there's those little cutscenes to kind of like up the tempo and up the risk and up the ante,
and they're all shooting grappling hooks at each other and catching them and swinging each other around. Amazing. And it looks like, based on this, because this looks like it's a proper fight, like a boss battle, with the three of you against Rude and Lena. And obviously when you get them down to certain health bits or you hit certain beats in the fight, you get these cool cutscenes. And I'm like, and like it's gonna be insanely cinematic, this game, start to finish. Start to finish.
In the original game, when you fought Reno for the first time, I just lost my shit when like he just sends all the guards at you and you're fighting all the guards. But if you look up, he's just sitting on a pillar watching you, and he's commenting on all the guards you're beating up, and he's like, good old what's his face.
Yeah.
Like, I love those scenes. So during this exact fight, I can't wait to hear the dialogue between like Rude, Elena, Cloud, Eric. They're going to be talking to each other the entire time. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, and of course, like like the histories. The last time we saw Rude and stuff like that was it the sector collapsing? Was it after they got out?
That's the last time the party saw them, but they appear to collect the president later on.
Yes, that's true. So I'm interested in terms of dialogue. The last time the party would have seen these guys is when they hit the button to collapse the plate, which, as far as Barrett and the team know, killed Wedge, Jesse, Biggs, the whole lot. So I just hope they
there should be tension there. Yeah, they should blame them.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we go into, after that kind of scene, which is amazing, we go into kind of more open world and the reveal of Junon, whatever way you want to.
I love Junion. It's definitely Junon, no Junon, but like Junion is hilarious.
So we can see Junon and the massive cannon and what appears to be high wind,
which looks bigger than the cannon. It's fucking huge.
Yeah, perspective. Sorry, Kevin, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask a question, but I'm showing my lack of Final Fantasy VII knowledge, because obviously, and we'll get to this as well, but in the original game, when you meet Sid and you're in Rocket Town, you fly away in a little plane and all that jazz. Where do you actually acquire the high wind in the end? Is it in Junon?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You escape on the high wind from Junon. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's during Barrett and Tifa's, like, you remember they're being sentenced to be executed.
Yes.
And the rest of the party, you don't know where they are, and they steal the high wind. Like,
amazing. And the way, like, when and sorry, I've just hijacked this.
No, but like fire away.
When they're running down through the area and it's in the background, like the way it's silhouetted against the sky and the high wind, just like the propellers just slowly turning on the top as if it's just
at dusk
amazing,
as well.
So beautiful.
And like this is another thing as well, because correct me if I'm wrong, but we get day and night cycles in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
No, but there are times when you would do an activity and then come back and it would be nighttime now. But those are story progressive. So moments.
Will we get because we have open world, do we get a day-night cycle? Interestingly enough, like, can you only arrive at
that's interesting.
Junon at dusk? Or
I'd say no for them to make it easier on themselves,
because they've got a lot going on.
Because you definitely, when you see Junon in the background, it is like sunset almost.
Yeah, like
it's
dusk.
Kind of like going down. I'm like, they won't have it always. I'd say you'll go to an inn. Or no, during the whole Dolphin Priscilla thing, you'll wake up and it'll be morning. If they have that in, I don't actually think they'll have that in.
No, that was a kind of, I thought, kind of wacky Japanese RPG piece.
And a filler area as well, because, like you can't come into June in the same way as you're doing this with all the grand spectacles and everything else. They have to bring you through these like little dinky areas and force perspective and everything else. So it's just like they just like throwing stuff like that in.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I have a theory for that exact point in the game that I want to bring up later.
Okay, I'll take a note. We'll make time, Craig. We'll make time. So after that, then we get to and this is what one of the things I'm most excited to talk about: the team attacks. Yeah. We get to finally see, we're watching, a scene with Red 13 kind of attacking an enemy, whatever, and then all of a sudden, Aerith shouts, Tifa, and she creates this orb, this dome over an enemy, and Tifa can use the inside of the dome as walls to kind of somersault from and jump from, and then we get introduced to Yuffie and Red 13's dual attack where they seem to be jumping up together and crashing down. And then a Barrett and Cloud team attack where Cloud knocks the enemy up into the air and Barrett just wrecks him with his. I was drooling before. Now I'm frothing. Yeah. I'm frothing at the mouth of this part because it looks amazing. Are you excited for team attacks?
I'm excited, but I'm worried. For me, Final Fantasy VII struggles from a lot of the attacks are so cinematic and anime awesome that it makes it hard to top that, you know what I mean? Especially if you're going to fight Sephiroth in the end game and say disc 3 or whatever. I'm just kind of like, why?
What does that look like?
Effective? How do they have to go to power level over 9,000? How do they visually make it look better than it is now? You know? So I'm just a little worried about that, but it's always great to just watch some fucking great action sequences.
And again, the music is fucking at its absolute peak at this moment,
during the whole scene. My only concern, I think, would be, we were talking about it earlier on, whether they're going to do every character will have one combination with every other character or whatever else, which would be fine. But I do think things like that can get stale sometimes. I don't know if they're going to put in the effort, but I'd like at least 2.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to go into a fight and it happen constantly.
Yeah, it'd
be watching that animation for 20 seconds every fight. You'd be like, fuck this.
Yeah. But as a special thing, because it seems like I've seen some speculation online, and we called it out when I rang you right after the trailer dropped, and we were watching it together. And there's the ATB bar or whatever, and then there's those little pips that you can see in the trailer beside it, and whether or not that's related to it. So it might be a case that takes ages to charge up, and you might only get to use it once a battle or once every couple of battles. It'll be interesting to see.
Or can you use a fill of your ATB bar to fill?
Yeah, you get an ability that will boost your team up stuff and accessories and all. So it's cool. It adds a whole extra layer.
For me, as a minimum, if they I know you say it might get stale, but if they had one for each pairing of characters in the game,
that'd be awesome.
And including the characters we haven't seen yet, like Sid and Vincent and Cossit and stuff like that. I get to thinking what does Sid and Vincent's one look like? All this my head spins with the idea and Cloud and Cossit, what does that one? Just so excited to think what these pairings could look like, what they will do together and stuff.
And that's a good point as well. I was thinking of one per person based on having 6 characters, but whether or not I hope to God we at least get Sid. Vincent, maybe you could push back or whatever. If you start
Vincent Sid, you could push back. Well, Sid's an old man.
Vincent's an optional character in the first game, so maybe they'll push him back a little
Vincent is an old man with a pudgy belly. It made no sense. He's a dragoon all of a sudden.
Sid's a badass man. Power of cigarettes and whiskey.
But he fights like he's a dragoon character, which made no sense.
How do you do
that?
this?
He's jumping through the air.
In fairness, they kind of
very
freshened him up a little bit in Advent Children. Do you know what I mean? He had the gear looked a little better. He looked a little bit slimmer and stuff like that. Because he was a bit, especially when you had one of my favorite animations was when you in the original Final Fantasy VII when you ran to escape battles. Sid's run was the funniest fucking thing ever. He'd be the real comical get out of there. But I think for me, I know we're going off topic here. But if I were putting my money down, or my hopes would be that we would get Vincent, Sid, and Cossit in this game.
Yeah.
That they would give all three of them to us.
Because Cossit was at the end of the DLC, right? He made a cameo,
Because he saw the place
collapsing. He's not in the DLC. That's just when the thing falls down.
Was that in Remake?
It cuts to him in slamming his fists into the ground. So you see him in the base game.
Yeah. Okay. So he's there, in whatever capacity.
Plus you see Reeve a fair few times, so it's him.
Yeah. Yeah. So that part's going to be so weird though, because the cat's a robot, right?
The cat is a robot, and the robot is a robot.
Yeah, it's a robot riding a robot.
Yeah,
but you don't find out for ages. Like,
it's very stupid.
I thought it was a cat on a robot, but it is a robot on a robot. So I hope that the robot that's definitely a robot, is gone, and we just get cut sick. Because
is it going to be the robot with his like trumpet or his trombone or whatever megaphone, whatever weapon he had? Like, speaking of ridiculous weapons, talking about Red or Nanaki, like.
Yeah, what does Cuts fight?
Hopefully they modernize him or just get rid of him altogether. Nobody would mind.
I wouldn't.
Don't care.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if he was like there as like, you know, the Jiminy Cricket of the group to kind of.
See, I would rather have 8 good characters than not have him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? But he could just like log shit in your journal and like be your conscience or whatever else, and it's really spying on you the whole time. But like, he's a real silly character. Like, I mean, some of them, he's a really silly character. All right, okay, moving on. We got Team Attacks. Oh. Excellent piece. Shinova on the boat.
Yes.
With a very, I know Sephiroth appeared in that scene in the original game, but very briefly. Didn't have a whole lot of dialogue, but it looks like he lays out some serious shit for, like, you know, what you call it, setting the tone potentially for the game, letting out some.
So it's not just a fight with Genova. Like, Sephiroth's going to give a massive monologue before the fight begins.
He's just going to be monologuing constantly for the next 2 games, and I'm so for it.
Yeah, one of the things that disappointed me was that the Sephiroth and Cloud voices that were in Advent Children and that were in the Kingdom Hearts games were amazing. I loved them. And when they announced Remake, they said it was different voices, and I was like, oh shit, like that guy who did Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts is amazing. But they are 2 exceptionally good voice actors. I like them both a lot.
I like the Sephiroth.
I'm really worried though for Vincent, because do you know who did Vincent in Advent Children?
Oh,
the guy from Cowboy Bebop.
Yes,
Spike Seagal. I'm like, that is such amazing casting.
Yeah.
That I'm like, now he can't do it again. I'm like, shit, that was my number 1 choice instantly as soon as I found out.
Yeah, and like the thing about the Vincent's voice actors, Vincent's one of the cooler characters, one of the fan favorites for sure. So they got to land him right. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully he hits it. But so we get Genova, and what I really loved about this scene was that we got to see a bit of the fight with Genova. And I was watching the scene that side by side that someone had put together on YouTube, and it has the Genova battle, and that Genova has the weird shoulder pad things and is firing the lasers out to hit your HP and MP on the boat. And although the design is quite different, the first thing I noticed in this battle was that this Genova has those same beams that are coming out to hit you. So I love those little nods to the. Like, that whole character like design was fucking crazy. This like alien with shoulder pads, as far as I was concerned, like big old shoulder, but like this they've put into
the fan service from the first game was just absolutely incredible, and like it from this trailer alone, it feels like they're just gonna carry that on the whole way. Like, they know what we want, they know their audience, they know for the most part, they know, you know, that they're going after these people who played the game in the 90s and trying to get new fans and stuff involved, but like really it's for all of us, which is a massive fan base. And I've had very few issues so far, and I predict it'll be the same going into this. I reckon it's just going to be nods to the first game constantly the whole way through, and I can't wait. Like.
My fear, again, having experienced the worst of Nomura, is that as the games go on, we're going to fall into the wacky more and more, deeper and deeper. But I'm in it. I'm like, you know, I said to you guys before, I was like, I would have loved the modern graphic remake of the game, just
like a
point
true
for point,
remake,
start to finish. But having played the first one and gotten into our theories, which we'll get into later on, I'm in it hook, line, and sinker. But I know that some of it's going to be like, you know, and we've seen from the DLC with Yuffie that they're bringing in fucking stupid characters from Dirge of Cerberus and all this other. Like, I mean, Nomura is trying to. It looks like he's trying to, like, you know, he's got all these fucking Final Fantasy VII IPs on the table, and he's trying to pull them all into one box.
And they're still making new stuff, right? Didn't they? Like, they've made all these announcements about, like, they've Ever Crisis, which looks cool, like the
Ever
mobile
Crisis
games
looks like the remake that I thought they might have done.
And the fact that they're doing that is great, so everyone gets what they want.
Yes,
you know, you
exactly.
have this and you have both.
And maybe this thing is going to be an amazing.
But they had like the was it the MMO with a first-person shooter or something based in the Final Fantasy VII world? Like, they're
the
trying
first
to really,
soldier
like,
or something.
Yeah.
And you know they're going to push that in with this narrative at some point.
Is that already? I feel like that's already gone. Is it
the MMO?
The first soldier?
Oh no, it's still out there. I played it.
Maybe it was Apex Legends Mobile. Then I knew it was one of the other tanked.
Apex Mobile is gone. I remember hearing that on the news a good while back, that they dropped the team for that. But no, the first soldier one is still gone. I played it for a little while and it was okay. It's shit that it's on a phone. It's really hard to play. I find mobile games like that are very heavily involved very hard to play.
Well, I hope they just abandon it completely and pretend it didn't happen. Same with Dirge of Cerberus and ever Crisis.
Well, Dirge
Core.
Cerberus, as never having happened, is they're not going to do that now because of what we got in the Yuffie DLC.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I've never played Dirge Cerberus. I tried and it was terrible.
It's fucking awful.
I played like 2 hours.
So bad.
And I was so excited. I got to lend off Evan Burke, who we went to school with years ago. I was like 15 or something. And I remember the box and all, opening it up and playing. And then like 15 to 20 minutes in, being like, is this
I
it?
bought it day one like an idiot.
The only good thing about that is the cool cutscenes you get with all the other characters. The gameplay is the fucking worst thing about it. Like,
I didn't even get to see any of those. It was a waste of money. Terrible.
So next we got, after the Genova scene, Sephiroth has a really cool piece of dialogue in that, which I guess is like, it's foreshadowing a lot of what's to come. And he describes Genova as someone who can take the form of people you hate, people you fear, and it kind of zooms into his face,
love.
and people you love, which we'll allude to as we go on because of the next scenes coming up. So then we get another shot back to the reunion, the clones in the black cloaks walking. Only we get a zoom in one of another one of these cloak guys saying reunion, but I mean we're all sure it's Cloud.
It is Cloud.
Right?
It's the voice actor.
It's Cloud, and in the Japanese trailer it says it's Cloud talking.
Amazing. Oh, subtitles is a great idea. Actually.
Yeah. You know for
put
sure.
It all to rest, again, kind of alluding to this idea that either this is kind of some sort of potentially, and we'll get to our thoughts on it. An alternative timeline Cloud, or maybe this version of Cloud does become sick and he has to go as part of the unit. We don't know yet, but it's alluding to there's something else going on here that never happened in the first game either, or in the original Final Fantasy VII. Then we go to the final scene of the trailer, which is the flashback of Tifa attacking Sephiroth in the reactor after he has burned down the village and killed her father. She charged Adam with his own sword. He grabs it, lifts her into the air, slices her back down, knocks her down the stairs, much like in the original game, and has the very interesting line, which is going to take us right in. It's going to segue into our big conspiracy theory conversation. He says, "You know that I killed her, so who is she?" This is obviously Sephiroth speaking to Cloud, we guess, and our, we had a major
the
argument
source
about this.
of our argument the other day, our misunderstandings.
Was who is Sephiroth referring to, and we'll go into that when we go into the theories. But we get, and this is then we get the closing thing, release in early 2024. Amazing. I mean, if it's in the next 12 months, I'm chuffed. Do you know what I mean?
And what amazing marketing to just put at the end 2 discs.
Yeah, brilliant.
Like if they had put 200 gigs of data, people would have lost their shit. But if they put it as 2 discs, it's that nostalgia we want because we played it on 3 discs before.
Did we get part 3 on 3 discs? Do you know what I mean? Just for shits and giggles, So that was the trailer breakdown. I guess just a quick overview before we go into things. Are you guys excited for the game?
Yes. I want to give a quick shout out as well to just the second last scene you were talking about there with them in the reactor.
Yes.
I love that Tifa is wearing the same campy cowboy outfit that she wore in the original game, just in like perfect graphics. It looks so ridiculous on her, but it's beautiful.
So stupid. Craig, you excited to play Rebirth?
Yeah, more than anything. And even though I get worried about these little changes to the story and stuff, I just love talking about it. Yeah. So this was a free hour of gameplay for me with it, and the game isn't out yet. So by the time the game comes out, I'll have hundreds of hours of just discussion time about the game, and for me that's almost as good as the game itself.
This is some of my favorite game conversation, and we talked about Kev, all those kind of E3 shows and stuff being cancelled. They're no longer really as popular as they used to be, and one of my regrets is that now I was younger when all these things were announced, but I would have loved to have been at the E3 where they announced Final Fantasy VII, and everyone got really excited. I think it was the remake, but it was just Final Fantasy VII being ported to PS3.
Oh, that one! But then
hilarious. That was an awful moment.
But then
hilarious.
But then because that set up the next big moment with E3, however many years later, 8 years, 9 years later, where they make the announcement. So everyone's been bitten. Everyone's like, they're never going to do it, are they?
And when you watch the video, it pans. Everyone's all excited and it pans to the crowd after the trailer, and everyone just looks so disappointed because they released that tech demo years ago when PS3 or something was out.
Just came out.
Yeah, they released the tech demo of Cloud on the train with the sword, the whole opening cutscene, and it looked amazing at the time.
Yeah.
And then it was 12 years or something crazy
a completely different console.
Yeah.
Whole other generation. So we're going to get into the part where we want to delve into our thoughts of where this game is going. This game was a huge part of our childhood. We are massive fans. We hope it finishes in the best way it can. But because of the way it's gone, because of how they've changed things in this original story, it opens up a whole other world for Final Fantasy VII. Now, for those who aren't big fans of Final Fantasy VII and don't exactly know where the story is or where it could be going, don't worry. Craig's on hand to tell you what it is we know.
Okay.
Take it away, Craig.
So just going by what we saw in the trailer, there's like some certainties and then there's some uncertainties. So I'm just going to bring it down to the things we know, the things we might know, and then our general thoughts on where we think the story is going. So this is completely spoiler territory now. So this is the point where you log off because I'm just going to get straight into it. Right, here we go. So Yuffie and Red 13 are both playable. We know that's certain.
Yep.
We can see them doing the actions. There's dual techs. At the very least, we have Cloud with Barrett, Tifa and Eret, and Yuffie and Red.
Yeah.
One each for all 6 characters. That much we know. In the PHS, this is a new one, and I discovered it by watching the trailer over and over and over again. But the PHS system in how the characters transition in and out of combat is just like Final Fantasy X. Because if you look, there's several moments in the trailer where 3 of the characters are fighting. But if you freeze frame hundreds of meters in the distance, you can see the other characters. They're
with their
standing
weapons
in the
out,
background
ready to go.
with their weapons out, ready to go, and they're like ready to jump in.
Amazing.
In Barrett's case, you can actually see him firing, but I guarantee that's not going to do any damage because it's meant to just look like he's involved.
It's
but
create
he's
the
back
spectacle,
there. So we have the combat system. Characters introduced, we have Elena and we have Bugenhagen. Traversal zones. So I don't know, like we said, it's going to be big zones, just like Final Fantasy 10 and 12. But if you look at one of the markers in one of the sequences, it says 11,000 meters is the objective marker.
Really?
So these are big zones.
Or maybe Craig, maybe it's an entire open world.
Or maybe.
I'm 2 discs, Craig. It has to be.
I think the 2 discs is purely a marketing ploy, and disc 2 will take place probably very close to the end of the game, and then we'll get a bunch of anime A and B sequences that'll just wrap
I
it all up.
can't wait for that moment where I finish disc 1 and I get a screenshot on my screen that says, "Please insert disc 2."
Just the original graphics.
I have a theory that it'll happen at the exact same point in the game after the exact same incident, and that'll break me. But that's what I think is going to happen. Like, and it because fans will lose their shit if it says, "Please insert disc 2" at that exact moment.
Yeah.
You know, like But anyway, sorry, you got me off topic there.
Sorry. I did raise my hand.
It's hard to do this, Darren, for the first time. Okay, so is that everything we know? Okay, now the locations in the game. We have Cam, we have the Chocobo Farm, we have the Mithril Caves, we have some old ruins where they're on the Chocobos. Yeah. I'd say that's kind of like the swamp just before the snake area type thing. And we have outside Junon, and then we have a river that clearly shows a mountain in the background. That's likely between Cosmo Canyon and Mount Nye, but you know that kind of river section going up.
A really pretty section on the old 1997 game, actually.
I think it looked really, really nice. That's all the things we know for certain in the trailer. Things we may know. There's news footage of the party characters, all of which are dead, described as a tornado damaging sectors 1 and 2. Now, I say we may know because that is a Shinra news broadcast, not propaganda. Actual footage of the characters. So there's no way we can tell for certain if that happened, or if it's in a different timeline, or if because the party damaged the fuck out of the Midgar, the Shinra building, and then the highway wrecked the place. So they have to come out with a story, and I think that they, using their drones and stuff, they might just say that, those characters involved are dead. Look, we got the culprits, here they are.
Interesting concept, because I never.
So it might not even be the alternate timeline. That might be one of those red herrings where they're just like, oh look, we got the criminals, they're dead, we executed them.
But what are they, like body doubles or like
no?
Photoshop,
they just use their clones or what? They have the little drones to like do the imagery.
You know when you're fighting and the presence initially.
I say that because it's just very odd. You see everyone's faces very specifically.
That's what I mean.
So it looked to me like it's a broadcast aimed with quieting, like covering things up. In classic Shinra fashion. So that's something we may know. The boss fight on the boat with Genova, during which Sephiroth messes with Cloud, saying that he already killed Tifa 5 years ago. So that's something that is likely happening, but we're not sure if that's on the boat or Sephiroth is actually monologuing at that moment. I think it's on the boat because it's the first time he'd encountered the party. So I'd say it's that point, but we're not certain. That's pretty much it, actually, for everything we know and everything we don't. Just before we start talking about our thoughts on this, if people wanted to see the Easy Allies / Maximilian Dude spoiler mode, then that would give them a lot of the thoughts and kind of factors into how we think it's kind of generally go. Because that kind of created the overall arc of how we see things. But okay, so both Darren and Kev here believe that there are 2 active timelines, and that one with Cloud and the party, and the other one with Zach.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a little different. I'm not really sure what to think, because I don't think it's quite plausible to switch between Zach and Cloud and still get to the Northern Crater by the end of the game. So
I can give you my reasoning for that if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, so just to give a bit of a background for those who haven't watched these Allies or Dude and who aren't as like absolutely bed into this Final Fantasy shit as we are, the prevailing theory is that the Sephiroth in this Final Fantasy VII Remake is not the same, or is the Sephiroth from the original Final Fantasy VII game, who Cloud beats with the team in Final Fantasy VII, and he comes back to life through the remaining Genova cells in the movie Advent Children, and the team beat him again. And in that moment where he's beaten, he retreats into the life stream in Advent Children and travels back through time into an alternate timeline and arrives in our Final Fantasy VII Remake, where he knows everything that's happened, which makes him a stronger being. So based off that,
I agree completely with all that.
Yeah. So here's my prevailing theory about the Zack Cloud timeline situation. In that, the way the first original story went, God, I could fuck go on for hours here. The way
we have 5 minutes.
We're 55 minutes in.
No, we can go over. It's all good. So like, I'll do a cliff notes as best I can. So Cloud, you beat Sephiroth, and you beat Sephiroth in Advent Children, and in order to do all that, the story went that Aerith dies. Aerith dies in the main game. So the theory being that the only way that Cloud was able to beat Sephiroth in these moments was because Aerith had to die. She, she comes to him in visions throughout the games in Advent Children and gives him extra strength, and that's how she did. So Sephiroth comes back and says, I now know that maybe this isn't the way I should do things, or I know a better way to do it. And Fate's like, holy shit, we need to, so if we do this the normal way, Sephiroth knows what's going on, so we need to find a different way to do that. So the Fate ghosts that exist in this new remake are trying to hold the party and hold certain characters in certain places to try and make things go the way it should. But because Sephiroth is messing with everything,
he's constantly trying to change fate, and they're stopping him from doing
exactly.
it.
And their final, I believed, that tornado that we got at the end, I believe is Fate's final act. They realized that, okay, the party as they stand are not powerful enough to beat this Sephiroth, who is the Sephiroth who knows everything already. So we need to do something drastic. So they all come together, they all breach the thing between space and time, and they allow 2 timelines and two universes essentially to collide. One that we're playing, and which Zack, died prior to when we started Final Fantasy VII Remake, and one where Zack survives that last fight and rescues Cloud. And so my theory is that there are 2 timelines, and there'll be 2 different stories, and Fate's done this purposely to allow these timelines to kind of coexist very, very, or these 2 universes to coexist so closely that when things merge at the Northern Cave at the very end of the game, Cloud and his party will have the strength of Zack and possibly his party, or maybe just Zack is all they need, because Fate understands that in order to beat this Sephiroth, Cloud needs Zack. Cloud needs the most powerful version of himself and the most powerful Zack version of himself to come together. And the reason I think they'll both be in the Northern Cave and they'll be able to kind of have this wavering of the walls between universes is because Northern Cave is full of, like, Genova was where she crashed, weird alien magic. I mean, there's no real explanation for it, really. But
it's a fantasy game.
Yes. So we have Cloud. We saw the scene in the trailer of Cloud in the cloak going to the reunion. I believe that is Zack's Cloud, the Zack that survived. And that problem with that Cloud is because Zack didn't die, Cloud never needed to pick himself up and to fight for himself. So he succumbs to the Mako poisoning and becomes part of these clones that go to the reunion. And I think Zack's motivation to go to the Northern Cave has nothing to do with stopping Sephiroth, but saving Cloud. And he'll by chance arrive at the exact same point in his timeline as the party. That's why I think it's... That's where I think it's going.
I agree with all of that, but I think that Zack's journey, other than the opening cutscene, which I think will be a cutscene about Zack, and the final cutscene of the game being about Zack, I don't think we're going to see Zack other than that in the whole game. The way we didn't in the first game. They've very much kept the 2 things separate. Like, you never transition from one to the other in the first game. That doesn't happen. You only see Zack's thing in a post or in a trailer or, you know, like they're never just going to have Cloud enter a building and then all of a sudden you're controlling Zack.
But the reason I think they've done that is because the game ends with this whole idea where you're walking away from Midgar and you see a Zack carrying a Cloud, like a Zack that has survived the fight, and a poster with, you know, Stamp the dog or whatever the dog's name was, and it's a different breed of dog.
It's a different breed,
So you realize there's two timelines. So I think I think they were saying that, like, here's the big twist, here's the big twisty twist part, and it's opened the doors for us now to explore that twist. And
True.
I think like a Squall Laguna from Final Fantasy VIII, you might get a switching between parties and stories throughout the game.
If that were the case, wouldn't we, the second it goes back to Cloud, just travel immediately to wherever Zack is at that moment?
No, because Zack's in a
unless he
different
stays
timeline.
in Midgar for the entirety, but we won't know that. So we're just going to go to one of those locations and then confirm for ourselves instantly if Zack is there or not.
Well, I mean,
why
then
would we
we'd
know that though?
Huh?
Why wouldn't we know that it's a separate timeline? Like,
So-
why would we be going looking for Zack when it's like, I mean, the end of the first game, just like you
Because
said a second ago,
curiosity,
like,
if I saw Zack and Cam just hanging out and they'd switch back to me in Costa del Sol, I'd get the first fucking boat over there and I'd be like, hey, where's Zack at? Everyone would.
I agree with you, but I think the important part to remember is that you're playing as Cloud's party, and I don't think Zack will exist in our world until right at the end of the game. I think that these things are still on separate universes, and they'll only collide at the point in which you get to Northern Cave. Yes. And there'll be loads of similarities. So, like, you'll say, oh, he's in Cam, but he's in the Cam in his universe. He's not in the Cam in our universe.
I know, but we're not supposed to know what's true and what's not, and they won't leave it to us to just discover for ourselves in the first 20 minutes. Like, that'll be a plot point they dangle over us for the entire game.
Yeah.
They're not just going to let us find out the answer by ourselves if we just go there.
What I mean to say is, if you go there, even if we just play, like, let's say you were Costa del Sol and we just came from a thing where you're Zack chilling in an inn in Calm. That's not the Calm in your universe.
I know, but I wouldn't want to know that for certain, and I'm sure they don't want the fans to know that for certain. Like,
it's completely confirmed by the stamp
but it
thing in
isn't,
the first
because
game.
for all you know, Cloud and Party are also in that new timeline, and that when they exited their timeline, beat the Whisper Ghost, they didn't go back to their own timeline because they've changed everything. There's absolutely no reason to suspect that they conveniently went back to their own timeline. There was no transition. We never saw that.
So I think the thing that happened with at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, where there was that big shockwave and the big kind of blow up and the ghost disappeared, and then, you know, Destiny no longer had the hold that it did. I don't think that the party was blasted from their own timeline.
There's a line of dialogue by Barrett which leads me to question it, though, because as soon as they get back, Barrett looks around and says, everything looks the same, and I'm like, that's a bit of a moment there, you know, where, like...
And interestingly enough, which I've forgotten about until now, when you're fighting Sephiroth at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake and you're falling through the sky, it's a different Midgar that you look down on.
Yes, completely.
It's the Midgar from the Final Fantasy VII original game, not the Midgar from the game that you've been playing.
Yep. That's true.
Oh my god, I have to replay this scene.
Well, but that makes sense because you do genuinely transition to another world.
Yes.
And then come
back
to
maybe.
possibly your own world. But again, I don't think the developers want us to know for certain if it's one timeline or two. So I don't think they're just going to let us
like,
find
how
out.
could they possibly get through that without... Well, I mean, you know, maybe Zack and Cloud will meet up sooner rather than later, but, like, surely there'd be whispers, do you know? Whispers in Midgar. Cloud's been running amok with a Buster Sword as a member of Avalanche.
But they died across all timelines. So the singularity, that explosion was them being destroyed. So that's something we know for certain because Zack is blown off his feet by the explosion.
And the reason I think that's so important was I don't think that was Sephiroth defeating them. I think that was their last ditch effort to do a thing that would allow the party to beat Sephiroth. And
on that exact point, because of where that happens in relation to the story, it also leads me to believe that media thing I talked about is in our current timeline, and that's a Shinra cover-up. Because everyone is like, oh, that's the singularity, that's the whirlwind they're talking about. But like I said to you guys the last time, Zack and Cloud haven't yet arrived at Midgar, meaning there's no way Red 13, Barrett, Eret, and Tifa have met up and are somehow all in Sector 1. Like, Red 13 is in the Shinra building. Yeah, Eret is selling flowers. Barrett and Tifa are planning a mission. There's no way they're on a highway, you know?
So this is Kev, go for it.
Just what were you saying the timeline was between the battle where Zack dies in Crisis Core, I should say near this mic, the battle where Zack dies in Crisis Core with Cloud, and Cloud on the train
I'm
becoming a member of
it
Avalanche.
Takes Cloud a week from
Is it only
Zach
a week?
dying to
I
get to
assumed it was
Midgar.
years.
Yeah, I thought it was years ago because he's so sick. He's so sick and so frail that I actually thought it was a number of years. And it's, email us
Okay,
at thegiftedgamerpodcast@gmail.com in case we're wrong here. But because he's so sick, like, I mean, at the end of Crisis Core, when Zach's reaching for Cloud and he's got the Buster Sword and he's like, live your life in my honor or whatever else. Cloud looks fucking pathetic. There's no way that Cloud 2 weeks later is with Avalanche.
No, he's not. But he's been found by Tifa, who spends a lot of time. We don't know how long, but she spends a lot of time, similar to the way she does with Marco. Jeez, I'm just having a theory right now that Marco is Cloud. Never mind, sorry. But just because her relationship with Marco imitates exactly what happened to Cloud in the original game.
Yes.
That like he was completely all over the place, didn't know who he was, and out of nowhere he just stands up and is like, "Hey, I'm this mercenary soldier." Like out of nowhere, it surprises her. She's like, "What the hell?" Like he just instantly switches on, So I'm thinking that that's Marco. I don't want to even get into that. No, it's just a theory I'm having right now in the moment. And
we'll talk about it in the next episode.
Jeez, I've just been completely dumbfounded by that. Sorry, go back to saying something.
I'll let you chew on that one for a while. No, I think whatever they do with it, like the fact that we're sitting here talking like this with such enthusiasm means that I'm pumped for it. That here's a really interesting piece that we had our kind of argument for, which I kind of wanted to bring up as well. The bit where Sephiroth is stating in the trailer, "You saw me kill her, so who is she?" My initial thoughts on that were that he was discussing Aerith and he was trying to mess with our Cloud's
we had a massive argument about it.
We did.
It was a huge misunderstanding in the end. But
just admit you were wrong.
Well, no. So the thing
I misunderstood.
I think about this is I still your theory, which we'll get into now, is I think is the far more likely. But I'm still not convinced that couldn't be in reference to Aerith to mess with Cloud's head in a different way, because this Sephiroth has seen everything, and my reasoning was that he would use that line about Aerith to weaken Cloud, to make him question his ability to save Aerith in that world, because Aerith's already pointed out to him in the first game. It was like, "Don't fall in love with me." Like,
I know, but that could mean it's not like them saying, "Oh, I've existed in another world before." Whereas Sephiroth saying, "I killed Aerith," is direct confirmation that this has happened before, and he can't say that. He's not allowed to say that. The developers will not allow him to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that like Tifa's on screen running at him with a sword and he says, "I killed her," leads me to believe that it was Tifa, because he literally stabs her as he's saying it.
And so when you were saying that, you were kind of saying that it was to do with to make Cloud unsure of himself and to question things and to weaken him.
And it works really, really well. Sorry, it's just because in the trailer there's a section where, and I assume it's happening when Aerith's Tifa and maybe, I don't know, Red 13 are the party. Tifa has a quiet moment with Aerith and is like, "Do you know what he's been up to for 5 years?" Because, as far as I know, he wasn't in Nibelheim. So she's already kind of saying stuff behind his back when he's not there.
Yeah.
So that would lead very, very good into the fact that like Sephiroth wants Cloud to question Tifa, because Tifa's already questioning Cloud. So that could put them at kind of odds with each other. Yeah. And I think that's what he's going to push.
I hated that as a theory initially until I thought about when we got onto, is it, close to the end of this 2 and Death 3, I can't remember where it is, where Cloud falls into the life stream, gets really badly poisoned, and Tifa has to essentially like enter his mind and piece him back together. And I was kind of like, why would they pit Cloud and Tifa against each other? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, there's a party. There's a party happening above us, by the way.
Amazing.
In case you're hearing any background noise. So my question was like, well, why would they pit them against each other? Like, that's just, I didn't like that idea. Like, I was like, there needs to be a payoff for it. And then I thought, oh my God, she's the one who saves him from insanity by going into his brain. And what if she, in this version of it, goes in there and the walls are even harder to break down because Cloud's his mental state does not trust this Tifa at all. And Sephiroth, as you rightly said, it was like, okay, I killed Aerith and that didn't stop Cloud, but Tifa saves Cloud in Final Fantasy VII. So if Sephiroth messes up their relationship and she can't save him, Sephiroth can do what he wants to do.
If she were to go into the live stream after him, he just wouldn't trust her. There'd be all this doubt. He'd be seeing all these visions and then a Tifa, and he's just deliberately told them that Genova can take the form of the ones you love. Yeah. While he's in a dream sequence.
It could be so amazing. And so I love that theory now, knowing that, because otherwise I was like, I don't want to go through the game and like Cloud and Tifa not get on. That's dumb. It's dumb as fuck. Like, their relationship is one of my favorite.
No, it does make sense. And I think when we were all talking about it, we had trouble until we played the first Rebirth trailer.
Oh yeah, where she essentially says, because we were like,
it's like, why do you trust me, Cloud? And we're like,
oh yeah, Craig's onto something. It's like, oh, you thought I died. I was like, no, she literally says it in the first trailer.
Am I some sort of imposter? Like, are you trying to say
it's a fantastic scene because, as I said to you guys the last day, it goes over the loophole in the first game where, like, because you know, and it annoyed me several times because, in my opinion, Tifa ruins Cloud's life because as a kid she goes off to Mount Nibel by herself. Cloud tries to chase her, she falls down, doesn't remember what happened, and everyone blames Cloud. From that moment on, Cloud has a terrible childhood. Then again later on, when he goes to Nibelheim, saves Tifa, that was the key information that he needed her to remember, and she forgets again. You know, twice she just, for no apparent reason, forgets what happened, and it breaks Cloud both times. So I'm like, fuck you, Tifa, get your fucking head together. Start remembering some stuff.
Yeah.
And like as well, because Sephiroth slashes her down, and she's no mark. She doesn't even acknowledge that incident ever.
So this is one I see where you're coming from. This is one where I have to put to bed because we're playing, like, especially in the first one, it's a polygon game. These guys are getting the shit kicked out of them, slash and cut all the time, and no one has scars. I don't agree with the idea that Sephiroth sliced her, so she should have a scar. I'm like, no one has scars from anything that they do in that fucking game.
It's like,
you know?
But that's because Sephiroth usually kills people. He never just leaves someone wounded.
The other day I was watching the end of Crisis Core, and Zack gets shot like 10,000 times. He literally, as someone walks over with a gun.
I'm like, I want nothing to do with it. Like.
But it's canon now. Someone walks over with a gun. Oh, Craig, I'm sorry. But they walk over with a gun, point it at his head, and shoot him. And then it cuts 30 seconds later. He's like, Cloud, get over here. I want to give you my sword.
Crisis Core is not canon to the original game. No, not at all.
Oh, no, but it's canon to what's going on now, though.
Maybe it is. You still need to finish the game.
Maybe.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. All I know is Zack in the original game dies from a machine gun blow and doesn't utter a single additional sentence. In Crisis Core, he's fucking talking for about 5 minutes after they've gunned him down. Yeah. So that's already not canon because that's not what happened, you know. Zack also wasn't in love with Aerith and didn't give a shit about her at all. He only wanted to go back to Midgar to see her, thinking like, oh, I'd have a place to hang out, and then he's like, oh wait, the mother's there. Nah, scratch that, fuck it. Like, he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
But Crisis Core portrays him as this hero in love, and I'm like, that was never their relationship. Like, where have you got this? They've changed a lot of the dialogue for them loving each other. In OG game, Aerith never says she loved him, only that she liked him for a while. Yeah. I'm like,
I shouldn't have brought up Crisis Core.
Stop changing.
We're no longer talking OG game. Everything's on the table now.
But just as a point where we're, you know, to get off the Tifa thing or whatever, like, he slices Tifa with a sword. It kind of cuts her chest. He doesn't like cut her in half.
I know, but we see her in the belly top 24/7, and there's no mark.
Yeah, but there's no marks on anyone. Everyone's getting murdered constantly. Like, it's Final Fantasy.
If they're murdered, they're dead.
Everyone's being hit by Faraga and Tundaga and fighting giant robots.
No
and wolves and magic houses.
I just think it's such a funny thing for you to get hung up on.
When
we played through the entire game, with the amount of, like, I mean, people get like planets thrown at them in the fucking end of
but that's all a dream sequence.
Summons like gods basically are attacking people. That, like,
no, if it were up to me, because the cutscenes now look stupid every time someone uses a machine gun at Cloud and he takes out his sword, whereas nobody ever fires at any of the other party members in any of those sequences. Like, Barrett is constantly standing still out in the open. If anyone with a gun shot at him, he would die instantly. But they never ever show that in any of the AMVs. Yeah. And for me, they could have easily fixed that if they had made a barrier a basic material that every human being has, similar to in Dune, where, you know, the bullet goes at a certain speed, it can't penetrate. So that's why people are using melee weapons again, because that can break through. That would have been amazing, and they would have been able to get rid of all that nonsense immediately. But now, anytime there's an AMV, they always have to fire at Cloud, and he has to use his Buster Sword to block it, and it looks stupid.
I think it looks cool.
I think it looks great, but I know what you mean.
Can
I ask a question that I don't think we've talked about since we started discussing this trailer? In the original 7, the reason that Sephiroth kills Aerith is because she's the last of the Cetra and the one who can summon Holy or whatever to stop Meteor, right?
He doesn't know any of that at the time. He just is like, oh, this girl could be trouble. Because Aerith leaves a message for Cloud in which she says what she's going to do, but she doesn't want Cloud following her because she doesn't trust Cloud. But Sephiroth's in Cloud's head and starts narrating what Aerith's telling Cloud, and he's just like, she could be a bit of trouble to me. but he's learning all that information through Cloud's brain. So he's talking to Cloud as Aerith's leaving the message for Cloud. So leaving a message for Cloud is what got her killed.
And so it's basically just pure chance that he happened to kill the only person who could stop him. But regardless,
he learned all that because of Aerith's message.
But now, if she survives in this, can she still go to the Temple of the Ancients? Can she? She already has the Holy Materia. Sorry, it's the meteor or whatever that's in Temple of the Ancients. Like, where does that leave Aerith in terms of being the final Cetra and being the only one who could potentially stop Sephiroth?
So, Craig, you go ahead.
But Sephiroth killed her, and it didn't change things. So I'm trying to think now. Well, Sephiroth knows that.
So just kill her again.
Interesting enough. Here's the interesting part, and this is why I think they'll keep her alive, and why, because the original Final Fantasy VII, 1997 Final Fantasy VII, is the bad ending. Like, the meteor almost crashed the planet. Geostigma becomes a thing. Everybody gets like a cancer type thing. They didn't actually save the world, but if Aerith, the last of the Cetra, is alive, perchance that can be different. So I think this game is all about giving us like the good ending potentially. And what's interesting is that we got that cool cutscene in the first Final Fantasy VII where you go to Midgar and it shows this vision of the Cetra, which Cetra was just mentioned in passing throughout the entirety of the original Final Fantasy VII game. Whereas in the remake, they actually point out this is what they dressed like and looked like. This is how they lived.
You actually see them, which was great.
Yeah. So my thing about it would be is that keeping her alive and maybe focusing on Tifa, like this is from Sephiroth's perspective, is how he beats Cloud. But keeping Aerith alive means that the ending of the meteor and everything like that, I believe, could potentially change because she's the last of the Ancients.
And maybe when Zack comes potentially over to this universe, to this timeline, he meets Aerith in this timeline who may be dead in his own, then it'll give him that extra boost of power. We're always talking about Cloud. Maybe she's the key.
Or maybe he's just like, yo, Aerith, what's up? And then he just immediately disregards it
because
they were never in love. And like their relationship is complete false. Like, do you know how they met? I told you that story before, haven't I?
Doesn't he fall through the roof of the church?
Zack meets Aerith because he falls through the same hole in the same roof as Cloud does.
No wonder it's so confusing.
Who's who? Like, it's dumb.
Black-haired Cloud.
And it's dumb because I don't even think Zack falls from the same part of the upper plate. Do you know what I mean? It's like
no, he's in a completely different place, but he falls through the same hole.
Oh, it's stupid. But guys, this has been fantastic. I'm so glad we decided to cancel our VR chat to come together and talk about what will be one of the greatest PlayStation trilogies that will probably ever exist.
And we're cutting it short clear just because we kind of have to and we have lives, but like otherwise we would definitely keep going.
I think one of our plans definitely as we come closer to 2024 and the release of the Rebirth is that we're talking about maybe doing a 2 or 3 part episode where we'll deep dive into just the Final Fantasy VII game and series as a whole. We'll get into those real deep theories of what could and might not be happening. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time. Kev, you guys got any ending thoughts? Are you happy to leave it there?
No, not really. Maybe we'll talk about it in the post show or whatever. I have a thing, but no.
Okay. Well, the post show is a different topic, so are you sure?
Well, all I was gonna say, we'll just get onto it for a split second. Do you reckon they'll do anything special with Wu-Tai in this game? Because there was a lot of emphasis in Remake Part 1 on the war between Shinra and Wu-Tai. And obviously the DLC is Yuffie and Yuffie's mentor, or whatever your man's name was, the Dual Attack guy, coming back over. So I think there could be a lot to do with Wu-Tai in this game.
So I would like to think that they would do it, but Wu-Tai is not core to the story, and I have a funny feeling that anything like Fort Condor, like I don't believe Fort Condor is going to be in the game. I think Fort Condor has been minimized into this like board game that you play,
which wasn't great.
No,
but then the original story wouldn't be canon anymore if Fort Condor was suddenly just a game, because that means we're in a different universe again.
I think Fort Condor exists, but we've got no need to go there in this.
I would agree with that.
So I think I don't.
It could be those ruins we see.
Exactly, anything like that. So I think Wu-Tai, because it's not. I mean, they've got like not only have they potentially got a lot of the original Final Fantasy VII story to tell, they've also got like a lot of extra shit that they're trying to fit into this game.
And they've done so much setup for Wu-Tai.
I think they will. And Don Corneo is too good a villain not to be back in the game.
Way more of it in the first game than there was, or way more of it in Remake than there was in the original 7. Way more emphasis on the terrorists and the war and everything else. So I think they could. And I mean, we have Yuffie now as a playable character. She's going to want to go back to Wu-Tai at some stage. She's going to be talking about Wu-Tai. There's going to be the trust issues between people because they're I suppose they're on the same side.
But a quick question to finish: do we still think that Yuffie tries to rob us?
Is that why we're low leveled again? And is all our materia gone? Does she get robbed after robbing us or something? And that's how to get. That's the cold open for the
I would
game.
be surprised if she just mugs us during the cam incident. She just jumps in and starts robbing material
and loses it somehow herself.
That was my theory as well with the Priscilla dolphin thing.
Yes,
I think Yuffie's going to show up, and instead of using a dolphin to climb the tower, I think Yuffie's going to do it. She's going to use her ninja ship to throw a shuriken at the thing, drop down a cable, and that's how she wins the party's trust. Okay. That's just my theory.
Interesting. You've heard it here first. Yeah, I like that. Well, so our post show today, guys, if you're sticking around, listen to it. If you want to have a listen, there's loads of content up there. You can hop onto our Patreon at patreon.com/giftofgaming. And this week we're talking about, in honor of Final Fantasy VII, we're going to talk about our ideal Final Fantasy party, where we have to each pick 3 members, only 3, from the entire Final Fantasy cast, not just 7, to pick what we believe would be not necessarily the ultimate team, but one of our favorite teams that we could put together. And if you want to hear that, it's over on patreon.com/giftofgaming. Craig, Kev, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for hopping on this such short notice. I could go on for hours, but we should probably close up. To all our listeners out there, thanks for sticking by. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next week, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. Peace out.